welcome to this exciting Sattology session with a very prominent guest who has helped strengthen our faith in Ram, in Bhagavan Ram, in today's time as well. And he has been involved in the excavation and restoration of the symbol of faith in Bhagavan Ram for a global audience. Many of you don't belong to the or are not from born in the culture of Hinduism, and many of you are, but Bhagavan Ram's message applies to all. And above all, Bhagavan Ram is Sattology. He is a historical personality, and people may have some differences on when did that incident happen, but no one has any doubt that incident did happen. So thank you so much for joining, and let us all welcome Dr. B.R. Mani. Namaskar. And before I start off, I want to tell the audience that you were heading Archaeological Survey of India (ASI), who did most of the excavations, and also many of your findings were used in the Supreme Court case to prove the historicity of Ayodhya. Am I right there?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. So B.R. Maniji, when you started this, so what are the uh, like hypotheses that you started with when you started this excavation and restoration?
Actually, there are two types of sites in India. One are protected sites by the Government of India or State Department of Archaeology, and the other categories of the sites which are unprotected. So Ayodhya was not a protected site, and around Ayodhya excavations had taken place earlier by Banaras Hindu Universities in the 1960s and by the Archaeological Survey of India in 1970s, but not at the exact spot which is known as Ram Janmabhoomi, where in 1528 a mosque was constructed by the orders of Babur by one of his generals, Mir Baqi. And that particular mosque was demolished on 6th December 1992. So there was a court case which was going on about the adverse possession and the title suit. It was going on right from 1885 onwards. And once the mosque was demolished by a certain group of people, then High Court decided that the site should be excavated in order to confirm the title of the particular land, whether it belongs to the Muslim Waqf or it belongs to the Hindus who believe that there was a temple at the site which was demolished in 1528. So we were not supposed to excavate the site at our own. It was by the order of the Lucknow bench of Allahabad High Court, with which the Archaeological Survey of India decided to excavate this site.
So when you started the excavation, the premise was that there was a Ram court there, and there's a lot of historical reference also because of the foreign archaeologists as well who have confirmed that who was in the past. And I think one particular name was used, some Alfonso something, someone was used extensively in that excavation there. So can you please take us through the details of how this whole process started and what you discovered what helped you put a very conclusive evidence in front of the court that this was the actual site of Lord Ram's birth?
In fact, the court had asked uh, 2 points to the Archaeological Survey of India to confirm. The first one was whether the mosque was constructed over a barren land or a land which was occupied in the previous times. And the other part of the order was that ASI should also confirm whether any structure or temple existed there which was demolished for construction of the mosque. So basically, that was the objective with which the Archaeological Survey of India decided, or rather ordered, to excavate the site. But before excavations, the Honorable High Court had also asked that before excavations, you must also see the geophysical aspect of the site, and that is how a ground penetrating radar survey was done at the site, and the GPR survey showed certain anomalies. And once the report was submitted to the court ordered on 5th December 2002 that this site has to be excavated. And that is how Archaeological Survey of India, being the nodal agency of archaeology in the country, with its reputation right from 1861 onwards, the Archaeological Survey of India was given this task. A 14-member team was formed, which was headed by me, and we went to the site, and we started our work on 12th of March 2003. And we also thought that there has to be something special about the site in view of the layout of the trenches, because the situation was quite different at this site. This site was continuously disturbed by the uh, security forces, intelligence agencies, about 20 parties involved in the court case, their historians, their archaeologists, everyone moving inside. So we decided to have certain uh, new elements in its layout. We decided to have, instead of 50-centimeter box all around or on inner side, we put 1 meter box, which serves the purpose of the study of the section, study of different layers and the structures, their association with different periods, and also facilitates people moving on that. So it was the area of the site is 2.77 acres of land, which was under dispute, and there was no mosque left. So we got the uh, land, and we laid out 90 trenches of 5 into 5 meters each, and then we started excavations. And towards end of the excavations, we reached in couple of trenches up till the depth of about 13 to 14 meters. Now, this was required because any site has to be studied in its up till the natural soil in order to know the different cultural settlements at the site. And even in the upper strata, we are getting older material which had come because of digging and pit activities and dumps, etc. So it was decided that we'll excavate at least a couple of trenches till the uh, natural soil. And in the natural soil also, we dug it up to 1.2 meters in depth.
So you
This,
mentioned, yeah, go ahead, please continue this.
yeah, this gave us a continuous sequence of cultures right from about 1500 BC till modern times. And we identified 9 cultural periods at the site, beginning with the usage of northern black polished ware, which is supposed to be a very deluxe pottery, and which was supposed to be belonging to about 600 BC to 200 BC in earlier excavations. But we had uh, given the samples of charcoal samples for carbon 14 dating, radiocarbon dating, and we got 7 dates from them, and many of the dates are from the second latter half of the second millennium BC. That means the date of northern black polished ware, it was also revised in this excavation. And later on, after 2003, after this excavation, a number of other sites had been excavated by Archaeological Survey of India or by the state departments of archaeology or by universities, different universities, even by the Italian archaeologists uh, at a site which is just bordering the Indo-Nepalese border called Gotiwa. And all these sites, they revealed the material which was analyzed in the lab, the samples which go back to 1000 BC, 1200 BC, 1300 BC, like that. So we could establish one thing apart from what we were asked to do. We could establish that this site belongs to about 1500 to 1600 BC period. And right from those days onwards, there is no gap in the occupation of the site, and continuously during the Mauryan period, during Shung period, Kushan, Gupta, post-Gupta, Rajput, and early Sultanate and Mughal period, the site was continuously occupied. Now, so this was one aspect. The other aspect was relating to the structures or activities which the court had asked to confirm whether below the mosque there was any structure or temple, etc. So we found that in almost all the periods there are structures, and just below the mosque there there we found remains of 2 huge temples. One which came up sometimes around 9th or 10th century. It was partly excavated. It's a circular temple in which the things have disappeared, or purposely they have been removed when the mosque was constructed. And it seems that probably there was some attack also at that point of time in the say early 11th century or so. And we know about one such attack by Sayyid Salar Masood, who came to Ayodhya, demolished many structures, but he had the title of Ghazi also, but he was fought by the local people, and in Bahraich, which is the neighboring district, he was killed, and his mausoleum is also located there. So probably that was the first attack on the temple. We don't know it was a temple of Ram or any other deity, but it was some temple. And soon after his attack, because he did not stay in India, his army, he was killed, and his army also, which was under Mahmud Ghaznavi. So they went back to Ghazni, and once again a huge temple was constructed. And from the remains of the walls of the mosque, an inscription was found, 20-line inscription in chaste Sanskrit, which says that a temple of Vishnu Hari, a very beautiful and magnificent temple, was constructed by in the reign of Govind Chandra, who was a Gahadwal ruler in the early 12th century. And probably the pillars, the decorated pillars and other architectural fragments which were reused in the mosque, and after the demolition of the mosque, which were on the surface. So at least 12 pillars of black schist, they were used when the mosque was in existence, and people had seen them in the mosque. So all those things had come out. And in our excavations, we found things right from, as I said, 15th century BC onwards. We found the remains of very important ceramics. In the earliest periods, we had the Northern Black Polished Ware, or NBPW, along with black slipped ware, grey ware, black and red ware, and the normal contemporary red ware. And interestingly, Brahmi, it's a script which was in which the Sanskrit and Pali or Prakrit was written. So a bezel, glass bezel of with Brahmi letters, she, they, was also found, along with a number of terracottas from Mauryan period, Shung period, Kushan period in different levels, and Gupta period. People had said that probably there was no Gupta period at that site, but we found a good deposit of Gupta period. We found the structural remains of Gupta period, and terracottas and other objects of Gupta period, along with a coin, a copper coin of the famous Vikramaditya or Chandragupta II, Vikramaditya, who is also credited to have rebuilt Ayodhya in the or relocated Ayodhya and rebuilt it in the late 4th or early 5th century. So we uh, we found all these evidences, and then we found the remains of the temples, particularly 50 pillar bases we could expose. We were not supposed to excavate a certain part where the tent, inside the tent, the images of Ramlala were located. So we excavated along with that outside. But if we join the line of the pillar bases, we can say that there were 17 lines of 17 lines of 5 pillar bases each. That means in total there must have been 85 pillar bases. But in the central part, in the courtyard where we excavated, we did not find a pillar base. So that means there were 84 pillar bases. And as per the classical uh, literature, the Brihat Samhita of Varamir, a temple has to be divided into 64 parts. And if you divide the area between 4 pillars and you count the squares, it comes to 64. So we could get the confirmation right from archaeology to our tradition and literature.
So when you did a GPR, the you mentioned about some anomalies. Can you elaborate on what were those anomalies?
In fact, the anomalies suggested that there are mm, structural activities. But since the uh, gap of the place from where the electromagnetic waves were put inside the ground, it was 1 meter. So suppose in a one alignment, there were 5, 6 meters gap, and the alignment was found because of the uh, bricks or stones lying in that particular level. So a line was drawn suggesting that this is an alignment. Of course, some of them proved uh, during excavations, and some of them could not be proved. Mm, the alignments which were not proved, that was because uh, even if there is a small brickbat and the electromagnetic wave goes up to that and returns, rebounds, and it is recorded in the computer, it gives 1 point, and after 1 meter again, if there is some brickbat, it gives another point. So it is only brickbat, it's not an alignment. And probably this thing was understood by the court also before giving the orders for excavations. And that is how the court wanted that, okay, this geophysical study or GPR study is good, but it can be proved only by archaeological truthing or excavations.
So in this entire exercise, what I understand, it was the faith. I see very positive thing out of the whole long court case we had, almost like 50 years of court case or more than that. It's a disputed court case for a long time. The faith in Bhagavan Ram became strengthened with this entire exercise. and historical proof of a Ram temple being existing there for long also been verified. And it's actually a victory for the large group of people who have faith in Bhagavan Ram. But there is one question comes in: how does this connect back with Valmiki Ramayana, or it connects back with the ascertaining that it's the actual place of Bhagavan Ram's birth, from your point of view?
It is very difficult to identify or pinpoint a particular spot, but uh, like in any religion or faith, it is our belief that uh, mm, in Jerusalem, at a certain place, Jesus Christ was born, or Prophet Muhammad was born at one place, or Buddha was born in Lumbini. But exactly the place cannot be pinpointed. But the temple which existed, it was existing at the same spot where the mosque existed. And from our excavations also, it seems that the sanctum sanctorum of the temple was there where the uh, central dome of the mosque existed, just below that. And the temple which existed over there, it was having a length from north to south of about 60 meters, while the mosque which was constructed in 1528, its length is around 27 meters. So it was a huge structure below the mosque. And since, as I was telling, that one pillar base we could not get, and we have aligned 84 pillar bases, of which 50 we exposed. So in the central part, one pillar base is missing because that was the passage to the sanctum sanctorum, which falls just below the central dome of the mosque. So we can conjecture, or we can believe that this was the place where Lord Ram was born, and that is how, once this place got this Babri mosque constructed, Hindus never left their idea, and they always came here to worship. And there were certain riots and skirmishes about which the history tells the details. Uh, and probably that was the reason why a Ram Chabutra was created just outside the main building of the mosque. And even the Jesuit missionary who came from Austria, uh, Joseph Tiefensler, he also records that Hindus come and worship here uh, at this 5 inches thick platform where they believe that Lord Ram was born. So, about the exact place, this is the details which I can give you.
So in Valmiki Ramayana, the description of Ayodhya is given, very vivid. You must have already seen it. It is said to be 12 yojana long on the east side of River Saryu and 3 yojana wide, which is 24 by 20, 24 miles by 96 miles, according to yojana rough estimate. So that was the huge dimensions of Ayodhya city, which is mentioned in Valmiki Ayodhya Ramayana. So this site is on the east side of River Sadhu. Is it right? Am I right? Or is it on the
Yeah,
west?
on the right bank.
It's on the east side.
Right bank. Yeah,
Yes,
southeast.
southeast, correct, exactly. So this was the dimensions which is mentioned there. And also when I visited Ayodhya last year, and with many political dignitaries with the VHS group, I saw with Dr. Swami, I was there, and I saw a huge. Actually, it was very restrictive construction. That time we couldn't go anywhere, and now I believe it's open and construction has started also. At that time, I went to a place called Hanuman Gadi, and then I also went to a place where Maharaj Dashrath's palace is there, and then and probably so are these later constructions after the period, and these are new or they're on the same spot?
Uh, it is believed, but the thing is that there are so many archaeological mounds apart from the Ram Janma Bhumi mound, which is said to be inside a fort, which is known as Ramkot. There are other mounds also like Sugriv Tila, or there is Mani Parvat. Even the Hanuman Gadi itself is a mound. You might have climbed the steps to enter inside the temple. So
Exactly.
there are number of protected Raja. There is one Nal Katila, and some of them are protected, some of them are unprotected. So Ayodhya was definitely a huge city, but considering the dimensions which have been given by Valmiki, it seems to be a little bit exaggerated, as in many of the uh, epics and such uh, literary works, we find it. Saryu, the river along with uh, along which Ayodhya is located, river Saryu is mentioned even in the Rig Veda. At least 3 times it is mentioned. And uh, Ayodhya is also mentioned in later Vedic literature, in the Atharved, in its Paipalad Samhita, and right from there onwards, it is mentioned in different literary works. In Valmiki's Ramayana, it is mentioned. It is also mentioned in detail in Kalidasa's Raghuvansh, and it is mentioned also in Skanda Puran and Rudra Yamal uh, in its Ayodhya Mahatmya and Satyopakhyan. And there is one Ayodhya Vilas of Lal Das. There are so many literary works on Ayodhya, its importance, its importance as a pilgrimage center, its connection with the Ikshwaku rulers, and it's being a city which gives salvation to the people. And in with little difference in different Puranas, Vayu Puran, Bhavishya Puran, and other Padma Puran, etc. There is a verse which describes Ayodhya as the first city which gives salvation. Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kashi, Kanchi, Twavantika, Puri, uh, Dwaravati, Chaiva, Saptaite, Mokshadaika. They are called the cities which give salvation to the people. And that is how they were in much regard by uh, the people of India right from earliest times downwards.
No, you put it very correctly. So at one thing that that we at Sattology clubs we are working at is that we take the Ramayana and Mahabharata as axiomatic truths that it is given, and we always ask other people to either prove it or disprove it. The reason is that that we know the qualities of Valmiki, the sage Valmiki, that he had no time to write fiction, and he was blessed by Brahma that whatever he is going to write is going to be truth as long as rivers and mountains are there on the planet Earth. So that words are given by Brahma himself, which we all of us regard in our culture. Now, and coming back to the himself as a Valmiki, whatever he wrote was sung in front of Bhagavan Ram himself by his sons, Bhagavan Ram's sons, Lav and Kush. And so therefore it becomes more relevant to take it as a axiomatic truth, because the person in front of whom this whole thing was sung in the first time is himself the object of this entire treatise, Ramcharit Manas. This Valmiki also, he's the first one to call it Ramcharit Manas. And then Tulsi Goswami wrote another commentary based on that. No, but so historical relevance is proved right there. Now, my question is that in this entire region of 24 miles by 96 miles, which comes out to be 1800 square miles area, it, like you said, many mounds are there. Can it be made a project by the ASI that we preserve the entire area, and the ASI and other organizations go in and recreate the entire history of Ramayana? Is it possible that we can discover something more? So, what are your views on that?
Definitely, we can discover many more things. You know, this huge length and width, which is mentioned there, it it is quite possible that it was the length and width of the Kosal kingdom or the Saket Mandal, not just of a city, small city, because 96 kilometers or miles is a very huge
Huge number.
area. It
Yes.
must have been the Saket Mandal, where a number of sites are under exploration, and even the earliest date of rice cultivation has been found, which is around 60 kilometers from Ayodhya at a site called Lavradeva. And if we believe in the tradition and merge it or confirm it through archaeology, it would be a great task. Uh, Geologically, we know that the area of Ayodhya is located on the T2 terrace, which is the highest terrace in the plains, particularly in Ganga Yamuna divide or in around the Saryu area. And once the entire area is flooded and the flood recedes, it will recede for the first time at Ayodhya, and Ayodhya will emerge. And that is how in the literature also, uh, not only in Sanskrit literature, but in the literature of mm, West Asia or Europe, everywhere, the the um, large deluge is mentioned, heavy flood, and how Noah saved people, as well as in our tradition, it is Manu who saved people, and he who uh, established his kingdom, and Ikshvaku became his son. Ikshvaku became the ruler at Ayodhya, in whose line the 62nd or 63rd ruler was Ram. So, in one way, it gives a continued chronological framework. It also gives the tradition, which is a global tradition. Everywhere the deluge is known and how it emerged. The seventh Manu, or the Vaivaswat Manu, is believed to be uh, the person who uh, re-established things after the deluge and established the kingdom. So probably this entire area emerged first, and that is how this area has been known as Saket Mandal.
No, very nice explanation. I think there is a lot more to talk with you, and we'll schedule and we'd like to invite you again and continue this discussion for on Ayodhya. There are a lot more things to talk, particularly about the current dimensions of the place of excavation, Ram Court, and how different rulers of India they respected this place as a place of origin of Bhagavan Ram. So there is a lot more to discuss here, but as you know, the time is at shortage, and particularly in Kali Yuga, we have less concentration power. So, so, so there are many questions right now on this live discussion, and one of the questions came up is that is Bhagwan Ram? It's a very hypothetical question. The original father of Jesus. So maybe you can, if you want to answer, you answer it now or maybe later on. But this one question one of our students have asked.
Well, I don't know about that, but we know that Lav and Kush, they were two sons of Ram. We don't have anything about, in our tradition at least, about Rama's any third son. So I'm not the proper person to speak on that.
Yes, thank you. So thank you, Biyamani Dr. Biyamani, for coming on the show and enlightening us. And I'm sure many people you have incorporated the thought process, and I'm sure the UP government will be very happy that many of our students want to go there now to see it. And so thank you, Namaskar, and we'll invite you again next week when you have time.
Namaskar.